It's really nice to fire a bad client.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know that sounds crazy because an entrepreneur doesn't turn down revenue easily, but there is some revenue that's just not worth it.
Agreed.
And that's kind of the situation that I always fall in, is I be in a situation where I can tell a client, I'm sorry, this is not a good match. And to the extent that you are in control of the conversation, and I'll say this, if more women are swiping right on me, then I get to pick who I like best to go on a date with. But if only one woman swipes right, then that's my date Friday night. I'm stuck
Yeah.
with that one.
Yep.
And it's so much nicer to be in the power role where I'm able to decide what I want. And that same metaphor for dating absolutely follows into business.
Yeah.
And then going on the first date. And I always tell people, what's the goal of the first date? And, and everybody always gets this weird puzzled look. Like, it's the second date.
Let's get the second date. Yeah.
The second date. The goal of the first date is not marriage. The goal of the first date is not to meet your parents. The goal of the first date is not to talk about how many children you want. Like, the goal of the first date is literally to just have enough intrigue to get to stage 2.
Yep.
And the goal of the second date is a third date. And it's allowing that relationship to develop over time. So what would I want somebody to take away from that book? And I'll say probably one of the things that drives me crazy is every self-help book and social media influencer in town is simply trying to sell people their program to teach them how to deal with clients and teach them how to grow their business and teach them this and teach them that. And the reality is I just don't think it's that complicated, because so much of what we already intuitively know about relationships, we don't draw the parallel and what I'll call transferable skills. Like, I know how to behave and not be a weirdo on a first date, right?
Most people.
Most people.
Yeah.
But if you know how to not be a weirdo on a first date, why are you such a weirdo at a client meeting? Like, if you went ahead and you social media stalked your date so that you learned everything you could about her before you went out the first time, I guarantee you read through all of her Facebook posts. You got to know her as much as you could. You talked to anyone you knew who already knew her. You found something out about her so that when you went on the first date, you didn't show up blind. And yet I watch people get into a client meeting and it's as if they've never heard of the company before. Because, well, that's the point of the meeting, is to get to know each other. It's like, no, the point of the meeting is to get another meeting. But your best way to do that is to walk in prepared, because you don't get a second opportunity to make a first impression. Like, you walk in that door and you are prepared, because to you, it's a Tuesday meeting. To them, it's a first impression.
Yeah.
This is the first time they ever met you. This is the first time an interviewee ever walked into your office. And if your office is a mess, that person's impression is that your office is always a mess.
Yep.
Like, you don't get to redo that. So I will say date your clients is a very tongue-in-cheek walk through the life cycle of a client. And it's everything from, violations and trust to one-night stands to, ghosting, and all of the things that take place in dating and how those things correspond. Because at the end of the day, I've only dated humans. And at the end of the day, I've only ever done business with humans. And human interaction is clearly a correlation. And business and dating are both very emotionally and I will say existentially motivated for most people.
Yeah.
And I think people already have the skills they need. They don't need a dozen self-help gurus and $10,000 seminars to make some of those comparisons. I think people have those skills already, and I just want to point out the obvious. Very George Carlin.
Yeah. Great analogy. Love that.
The best humor is reality.
Yeah. Yeah. You are, I mean, I've done 100+ interviews. You are the king of metaphors. I love it. I absolutely love it.